Hi, this is Bill Watkins. Thanks for taking a few minutes and looking into the Bible. We've been looking at the story of Job, and I'm sorry we've had a week or two that we haven't been together, but I hope we can take back up with that story and everything will be well. You remember how that Satan showed up and God said, "Have you considered Job?" And then he said, "Yeah, you put a hedge around him. The reason he's serving you is because you blessed him." And he said, "Okay, you can do everything except touch him." And he killed his children and he took away all of his wealth, and all of that just happened within an hour. And all of a sudden he went from being the richest and greatest man of the East to being one of the poorest of the men of the East. And still he didn't curse God. So Satan shows back up later on and God says, what do you think about Job? And he says, and this is beginning in verse 4 of chapter 2, "Skin for skin, all that a man has he will give for his life. But stretch out your hand and touch his bone and his flesh, and he will curse you to your face. And the Lord said to Satan, Behold, he's in your hand, only spare his life." In other words, you can do everything but kill him. That's what you can do. So Satan went out from the presence of the Lord and struck Job with loathsome sores from the sole of his foot to the crown of his head. And Job took a piece of pottery, which he had used to scrape himself as he sat in the ashes. And his wife said to him, "Do you still hold fast to your integrity? Curse God and die." But he said to her, "You speak as one of the foolish women speak. Shall we receive good from God and not receive evil?" In all this, he did not sin with his lips. Here's what I want you to think about. Satan has taken away all of Job's wealth, and still he worships God. Satan said, well, when your life is on the line and you allow him to suffer, then he'll curse you to your face. And God says, okay, just don't kill him. And he gets these boils from the top of his head to the bottom of his feet. He's sitting in the corner of the chimney and he is scraping himself with broken pottery to get the pus out. It's a horrible, horrible situation. His wife, who can't stand to see him suffer like this, says, "Do you still hold fast your integrity? Curse God and die." In other words, if you'll just curse God, he'll kill you and all this suffering will be over. Maybe she's bitter. Maybe she's angry. Maybe she just hates to see him suffer. But for whatever her motivation is, he says something that's amazing. He said, "You're talking like a person who doesn't know that there's a God. Shall we receive good from God and not evil?" That's a great question, guys. Shall we receive good from God and not evil? Evil in the scripture, if you've heard these podcasts before, you know it's not talking about wickedness. It means that which brings pain or suffering. And he says, shall we receive the good things, the beneficial things, the things that give us health and strength and happiness and wealth, and not receive from the Lord also the things that bring us pain? God has a purpose in the blessings that we see, that we all recognize as blessings. We have good health. Our children are healthy. Our finances are doing fine. And God gives that. And if we're the people that we need to be, we tell him thank you. But what about the other times? What about the times where our kids get sick? What about the times when our mamas die? What about the times when all of a sudden we have more month than money and we don't know how in the world we're going to even buy groceries? What do you do during those times? Job said, do I expect to really receive good things from the Lord and never to receive any pain? In all this, he didn't sin with his lips. Sometimes the greatest blessings that God gives us is the apparent taking away of the good things. Sometimes in the middle of suffering, we come to have our fingers pried off of the things that didn't matter to grasp the things that really do. And if pain didn't come, if there weren't days of darkness and shadow, we wouldn't know what's really important. We wouldn't know what our values really are. Job, by losing what he loses, realizes the essential thing is never let go of God. You can let go of a lot of other things. If you list the top 10 worst things that could happen to you in your life, before you suffered, you would have listed a lot of things that after you have undergone terrible pain and suffering, you would realize some of those things just aren't important anymore. God redefines our values in our suffering, and I'm thankful for that. Having gone through some days where I didn't think I would survive, I can tell you that in the end, and I didn't see it while I was going through it. In fact, like Job, I complained bitterly. But in the end, God was doing something great with me and growing my faith and He will with you as well. Just don't give up. Thanks for watching.